This is the Mental Mettle Podcast, where we explore how to forge mental toughness and resilience in every aspect of life. Welcome, I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann. I'm an ICF certified professional coach with a background as a teacher, basketball coach, and athletic director. But my journey took a dramatic turn in 2020 when I survived both cancer and a stroke. Those experiences shaped my mission, help others grow stronger in every facet of life. Today, I work with athletes, coaches, educators, and anyone who believes that positive mental health is both achievable and a personal responsibility. This podcast is dedicated to helping listeners develop a positive version of toughness, one rooted in resilience, focus, and growth. Whether you're looking to excel on the field, in the classroom, or in life, this is your space to learn, grow, and take action. Join me on this journey, and together, let's forge your mettle. All right, let's go, metalheads. It's the Mental Mettle Podcast here, and this is Coach Thomann, and just really excited you're here. I'm just, again, you probably sound like a broken record, but I'm so thankful for everybody that tunes in. And I'll just keep asking, continue to tune in and continue to like, share, subscribe, all those things. Every time somebody likes and shares and subscribes, and it just helps the algorithm, and it shares my podcast and my ideas, which I think are worth sharing with somebody else that hadn't seen it before. And the numbers keep growing. More people are listening, more people are sharing. And it is just, again, I will tell you this, the podcast definitely, it helps my business a lot, but the podcast is not something I make money off of. It's to get ideas out there about what I think are the right way of coaching and how we need to be able to help athletes. It does help my business. It helps it, which is continue to grow. And I know the podcast is a big part of it. I'm spending so much time, especially this is January. So just got the start of a new semester. And anytime we get a new semester, that means I'm getting into schools and doing some professional development with teachers, with coaches, starting to work more with athletes and getting into schools. And so much of my work now is getting into schools. And, that's a really positive, uplifting thing for me. It beats sitting here in my office by myself. I still do the individual stuff with athletes quite a bit, and I really love that. But it's nice to get out, get into schools, be part of programs, help build culture, and that's so much fun. And what's really cool is a guest like today is just a direct result of me being in a school doing some of my Ember to Inferno program with some coaches. Just in this case, it was some small group coaching for coaches, something we did like 8 sessions around, which means 8 different times the coaches get together and we talk about different topics about how we can learn how to coach better, done it in a more positive way. And anytime that we can do that, I think one of the best ways a coach said it to me was when we do these sessions, he said, yeah, I learned something. I got some content, some ways to look at it. But he said, when we discuss, he goes, I realized that I'm not the only one thinking this way, and I'm not the only one struggling with this. And that is so powerful. Anytime as a coach, when I hear this and I get a coach say this, that means a lot to me, because that's the whole point, is that we're not, anytime that I'm doing the Ember to Inferno stuff with coaches in that small group coaching and with athletes when I do it too, is helping them realize that I'm not the only one. We're in this together. We can help each other. We can find a better way to do it. And it kind of gives them a little bit of power, like to say, hey, I kind of want to do this. I want to try to coach this way and act this way and play this way, but I didn't know it was okay. And once they start to realize some of that content and that, no, this is needed, then it really kind of gives them some power to be able to do that. And that's what I love. So I was in a session with a coach. People get to know me. People get to understand what I want. And I was working with Chad Kluver, who's a good coach. I haven't had him on the podcast yet, but I will. He's at Deer Creek Mackinac now. He's been won a state championship at Merle Forsyth, and as he and I were talking, he said, there's a guy you ought to talk to. His name is Greg Geisinger, and he's at Arcola. And he said he's just the kind of guy you need to have on your podcast. And I love that people understand me enough to have somebody to share. And Chad was 100% right. Greg is exactly the kind of guy I want on the podcast. A couple of things that you'll see from Greg that I just love. He coaches in a very humble way. We're going to talk about a decision he made this year and the way he coaches and who he's coaching that is in the best interest of his school, best interest of the kids. And I love understanding that it's not about what's about him and the ego and doing that. He also coaches now he does, and that's part of the story. He now coaches from a place of love and not of a place out of fear. And I've had very good guests about that. And I think that is something we need to do, is be coaching less out of fear. And then also not surprisingly, when we talks about his kind of a sacrifice he made this year and the way he coaches out of love and not fear, Greg is a strong Christian. And I love that connection and making that connection and how you can coach in a very tough but yet positive way and from a place of faith. And I think a lot of coaches kind of struggle with that, on how to do both. And Greg is a great example of how we can do that. So just a great episode, great interview. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to let you jump into it. I'm going to give a little, at the backside, give a little breakdown on some things that I think that I see in Greg that should be examples of other coaches and how you can do that. So for now, enjoy the interview with girls basketball coach from Arcola, Greg Geisinger. Welcome to Mental Mettle Coaching, where our mission is to help you learn to thrive in the face of adversity, not just survive it. We are passionate about empowering you to live, play, and work with a resilient and spirited mindset. Hi, I'm Matt Thomann. I'm an ICF professional coach and keynote speaker. My background as an athlete, basketball coach, teacher, and school administrator has equipped me with the insights that resonate deeply with the schools, teams, athletes, and coaches I work with. However, it's my personal journey through anxiety, cancer, and an ischemic stroke in 2020 that truly brings authenticity to my presentations. While learning to speak and write again, I also pursued and earned my ICF coaching certification. Now the practices I embrace are more than theoretical concepts. They're a way of life. Developing a positive mindset is within reach for all, but it requires self-awareness and the repetition of intentional activities. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we'll guide you, your staff, and your students on this transformative journey. Together, let's forge your mettle. All right, welcome back. It's the Mental Mettle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann, here with my guest today, Coach Greg Geisinger. And Greg is so this is going to be the story here, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. But Greg, right now you're the head girls coach at Arcola High School, right?
Yes, sir. That's a new one.
And this is your first year as the head girls coach, right?
Correct.
Okay. That is going to be the really, really cool part of this story, because prior to this, you were the boys coach for how long?
Here at Arcola, I was 7 years here.
Okay.
And I think I just finished last year with my 21st or second year coaching boys basketball.
Where all have you been coaching?
Well, I started a long time ago now at Mayo Middle School in Paris, where
okay.
Kind of fell into a job that I didn't think I'd get. But back then in the, early 2000s, it was, to be a PE teacher and a basketball coach, you were, up against, 40, 50, maybe more applicants. So
yeah,
finding any job was great. So I started there. I was the junior high coach there, and then became the fresh soft coach there. Went to Chrisman, was an assistant, then became the head coach there. Then went to Watsika under Chad Kluver for 3 years. And then my wife and family and I ended up here in Arcola. So
you were at Paris High School for a while?
Correct. Yeah, I didn't teach the high school. I worked at Mayo Middle School, taught junior high health all day, and I coached eighth grade boys basketball for 2 years, and then went to fresh soft coach for a year before leaving to Chrisman.
Yeah. What year was that? What years were you there at Paris?
Been like 05 to 08, that range.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my youngest brother played at Olney, who played against Paris. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Maybe I coached against. I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows?
I don't know how much. Well, it was Keen Tolman. He was that 6'11" kid that
Big
played
tall.
it.
Oh, I watched them play.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The game at Casey. They played
Yeah.
Bismarck Henning.
Oh yeah, I was there. That was
I was there
you
too.
want to talk about. You want to talk about one of the. I've told people that's one of the best high school games and atmospheres I think I've ever been at.
Oh, it was crazy. And that gym's it's a cool
Oh,
gym because you're kind of above,
it's
and
just
you're
right
just
there.
tight. And they had both had a. I can't remember the kid's name from Bismarck, but he was like 6'10", 11 too. And he had Thomann.
It was great. It was great.
Space
What
in
a
the
great
lane, but they had a
game.
really good team. Had a couple good guards. It was a great basketball game. So
Yeah.
it was fun. It was fun. It was a
I,
good atmosphere for sure.
I love doing that. I love getting in and meeting people and find out we've been at the same games and
Yeah,
just kind of
hoop is a
doing this.
small
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, so that's great. So you've been a couple places.
Yeah.
You were telling me before we started, because this tells me a lot about you, how you got to work under Chad Kluver, who's Chad Kluver's a, like you said, Hall of Famer, got
Yeah.
state championship. How was it you ended up working under him?
Yeah, so I had applied for the head coaching job, and they had a PE opening at Watsika, and they called me after I had a couple interviews there and thought it went well. Actually, I thought my first one went terrible, but I thought I did a terrible job. But they called me back, gave me a second interview, and then they called and said, "Well, we really liked you. We want you to come here, but we're going to give the head coaching job to another person, but we'd love to have you as an assistant." Coach Bauer, and at the time the principal was Mr. Bunting, and they were really wanting me to come there, and then I was like, no, I don't want to come there and be an assistant. I've been a head coach for a while and want to stay on that route. But then Coach Kluver called me and said, "Hey, let's have lunch." And we sat down for probably, we were at Panera, which is hard to be at Panera for a couple hours. But we joke about it later, like we weren't at a Buffalo Wild Wings or something. I don't know how we ended up at Panera, but we were there, for a couple hours and just talking basketball, but more importantly, talking about, kids and, and it was, when I left there, it made me realize how much I needed to grow as a coach and as a person. And so left there, and I just called my wife. I said, "I think we're going to go to Watsika," and she said, "Heck no." And I said, "Well, I got to work with this guy." I said, "This is I need to work with him. This has to be done for me." And so we went, and that's how we ended up coaching together for 3 years. And I hope we made each other better in a way, and we worked so well together. But at the end of the day, it was, I had to go, build something here that I could be proud of, and be in charge of. And I'm glad I did. I've been able to make some great relationships here at Arcola.
Yeah, well, that speaks a lot to you. It takes a lot to set our ego aside sometimes, but it is when we do, I find it's always a good thing.
Yeah, amen. It's and that was, I was at Crispin, we had some success, and it was, but to be honest with you, and I loved it there at Crispin, but I wasn't a very good coach. I wasn't coaching the right way. I was leading with fear, instead of leading with love. I wasn't, in a good spot as a person either at that time. So I needed to kind of regroup a little bit and be under somebody who could level me out a little bit. I knew I needed to grow. I knew the way I was doing it wasn't going to have long-term success, and it wasn't going to impact lives. Like, I believe I was maybe given some gifts to do. So going with Kluver and not just him, other people in that district was it changed my life in a lot of ways. So
talk to me about that. I love the way you very, very succinctly you said I was coaching out of fear and not out of love. And I've talked to several guests on this podcast about this. I'll throw a shout out to, I have an episode on there with a guy who's a head coach at Indiana Wesleyan University, and he's like the fastest guy to ever win 500 games in college. And he said something similar. So you're in good company, that he was like, we, you know what I'm saying? Like he said, I made a change. I realized I was using fear, and not love. And he said, once we made that change, everything opened for him. That's how they started winning national titles, right? Like he said that was the difference. I'm curious. Greg Geisinger was his name. I've been thinking about it here, there. But how did you recognize that? Like, where did that come that you're like, okay, this is not working? And if it's some sort of epiphany, or if it was like a very acute thing, or if it just took time.
I mean, I think it just took time. I mean, we try to. I mean, being around young kids, my whole life, coaching the last 20 whatever years, and you're always talking to your players about learning from failure. More you do success, and and eventually, through my own failures, not only on the court as a coach, but I feel like I was not impacting kids, in a positive way outside of just winning games. And that's it wasn't fulfilling. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't like, we were winning and our record was really good. We went to the Elite Eight, one year at Chrisman. It was great kids, and we had a lot of kids out playing, but I could just feel like this emptiness, like inside of me where it's like, that's not enough. And I wanted to change it. And Kluver really helped me get going and learn how to actually coach kids in a deeper level. And then a former player of mine on the Elite Eight team, I call him my spiritual caddy now, but he was an assistant coach for me at Chrisman. He played for me on the Elite Eight team. He was my assistant coach when I first came in Arcola. And then they ended up having so many kids, he had to just focus on his own family and all that. And he got me into the 3D coaching model, and which ended up moving into the 360 coaching, which kind of branched off that a little bit. And when I came to Arcola, I'm like, this is how we're going to do it. I interviewed with that. I just said, this is how I'm going to do it. We're going to make impactful relationships. And it's been so much more rewarding in my 7 years as a boys coach here, just to really, see the impact we've been able to have on kids and win games in the process. So it's been really, I've had a lot more joy for myself and for my family, because they're getting the best of me because I'm just in a better place, that it's so much more rewarding. And it just took time to get there, and great people around me, great Foxhole brothers, Matt Carriers, to just be around me, to see the good in me when I didn't even see it at times, and a great wife at home, a great wife, great family of my own, to hang on through some of the times that I put them through where I wasn't my best. So I'm so blessed that I just want to give back to people. That's what it's all about now at my age, I guess.
Yeah, no, I get it. I want to talk about this 3D and 360 coaching you're talking about. But before we do that, what year was the year when you went to the Elite Eight with Chrisman?
Oh, it'd been 2010, I believe it was.
Man, so not only were you and I at that game, that we just mentioned, you and I have coached against each other, because I was on the staff at Deer Creek Mackinac.
Oh man!
So
stop the show.
I know, right? I do not even mean that. That was that when you started talking about Chrisman and making the Elite Eight, I was like, wait, that Chrisman's who we beat to go to the Final Four. So
we had a heck of a second half. I'll tell you that.
Well, it was. Yeah, you guys.
Well, it's
I'll be honest.
I'll
be honest. You guys had us.
We did. Yeah. No, that one. I have still not watched that film. I refuse. I can't watch it. It just makes me sick, because you don't get that opportunity. And I was so proud of you guys. And I told the coach after the game. I mean, it was the first time that I was like, man, I just got out coached. That guy was so good. I can't remember his name. I know he's a principal at DMAC, I think.
Mitch Holmgren, phenomenal.
Yes, and I saw him this year at the state tournament, and I was just like, man, you remember me. It was a great, it was one of those, he took me to school in the second half, and I'm sure you did. You were part of it as well. But
we had some.
I got out coached. You had really good players, but
we had some guys that hit some really big shots.
Contested,
really did.
But I did feel like they did a good job of taking some stuff away from us second half that we've been able to do the whole year. And I wish I knew now. I knew now, and I knew what knew them and knew now. You know what I'm saying? So I could change some things, and I don't know what we could have done.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, as
Yeah,
you were talking, I was like,
thanks for
"That's
bringing that
interesting,"
up,
but
man.
it does. I didn't mean to. I could have let
I'm
it go,
over
but
it.
I
It's
was
fine.
like, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I
Maybe.
swear I'm over it.
Yeah, I gotcha. Just the point is, did you learn much from it? And that's the good part,
I
right?
did
But
a ton, a
yeah,
ton, and it was one of those. So I go to the state tournament, with some buddies, mine at Paris, and we go there, and they're kind of the old coach from Mimosa from Newton was there, and there's a few guys
yeah,
and they're just like giving me a hard time because like, oh, you go to the Elite Eight your first year as a head coach, and I had never even been, want to say, and I'm like, this is easy, but I found out really hard, like
it's hard.
it's
Yeah,
not easy, it really,
yeah.
really isn't. So just blessed
So
to get there, so.
no, I know. So talk. So now that we've got that out of the way, talk to me about this 3D and 360 coaching that you're talking about. Where that comes from and what that is even.
Yeah, I mean, it was so when I originally did it, it was through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. The 3D coaching was they've kind of branched off now and went to the 360 coaching, but it's just about building relationships first, and coaching that our athletes at a deeper level and understanding that if we just coach for the scoreboard, then we are missing the boat. And I've seen so many good coaches are a lot smarter than me, and I'm not claiming to know anything, but that have been burnt out of coaching or been, just kind of in this place I was at Chrisman where they weren't leading the right way, but knew the game and loved kids, but just weren't getting the satisfaction out of it because they're missing the boat on, in my opinion, of impacting kids at a higher level. Um, it can be a little more challenging, I think, at a public school, because,
Yeah.
we try to lead, I try to lead, with Christ at the center of my life, with Jesus at the center of my life. And, I probably fail every day at it, in a way, honestly, but it's something I strive to do. And then I think through that, we've been able to, at Arcola here, been able to bring some kids stronger in their faith or just planting the seed or dipping their toe into the faith. And just amazing what I've seen happen in their lives, as they left our program, our school, and the leadership they're doing. So, coaching the kids at the skill level, obviously, but then coaching their heart and their mind and their soul. It's a lot more challenging, but man, is it so much more rewarding. It just keeps you going. It really just keeps you moving forward.
Do you notice a difference on you talking about it's not the scoreboard, which
Yeah.
somebody who's not strong in their faith and doesn't think that will say, well, that's just loser talk.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I'm just curious from your perspective. I don't think I don't know how much it affects the scoreboard either way.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's, so I came here, I spoke at a men's breakfast, Arcola, and we're at church, and a bunch of, elderly gentlemen there, I would say old school,
Oh
great,
yeah,
great
I
guys.
gotcha.
And I'm telling them this 3D stuff. And then you can just tell they were like, okay, man, like, I might do this.
Welcome to my world. Welcome.
Yeah, I got into it. And I'm like, listen, like, come watch us practice. This isn't sissy stuff. Like
No.
we're not. Our kids aren't soft. And I mean, you can say what you want about our Arcola basketball, last 7 years, whatever. But we've been tough. I mean, I think that when teams played us, they've been like, this team's tough, but we've been together. I mean, we've been together, and it's been fun to see. But even when I started reading this 3D coaching, so Guthrie Gardner got me into it, and got me reading about it and studying it and doing all the whole class part of it. I was like, man, I'm old school. I'm lead with an iron fist. That's how I was raised. That's how I was coached, and that's how I've always responded. But I also know that I had a hard time getting out of kids that have the same mindset that I had,
Mm-hmm.
that
Right.
weren't like ultra alpha competitor. And I always had a hard time coaching those kids. But now I feel like I can coach more diverse kids because I'm coaching the heart, and we all have the good in us. And we coach the heart first. I mean, it doesn't mean that we don't discipline. It doesn't mean that we don't make our kids run. It doesn't mean that our teams are soft. No, we've been pretty freaking tough. So, ask anybody that's played us. So, but we do it at a deeper level than I think a lot of teams do. And and then when they leave here, they just have been, rock solid kids, and they're leading some FCA groups and colleges and stuff like that, which is just, just great to see.
Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness, using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Thomann, at Mental Mettle Coaching. Your athlete probably spends hours working on the specific skill set they need for their sport, and they probably spend hours in the weight room building their body. But how much time do they spend intentionally training their mind? Well, building mindset is the key to bridging the gap between the skills that we see and game execution. Well, Mental Mettle Coaching provides individual programs that can help your athlete develop this third and crucial skill set. Well, I think that when we talk about that old school, you're only able to coach the kids that are already those tough kids. And I think that I say that I get these coaches that are like, well, I've got this player and this player and this player they'd run through a brick wall for me and they do this. And I'm like, they would have done it anyway. Right. There are kids that are just, you know what I mean? Like, it's not you, right? They would, you're maybe giving them a platform to like do that, but you're not helping the kid that's not like that naturally and genetically, and just and to think that we're all like that. Like, I think that's one of the big mistakes that people think is that, like, we all know that kids are born with different genetic physical abilities, but they're born with different genetic emotional and mental abilities as well. And we have to be able to, like, you're at a public school and Arcola is not that big. You know what I mean? Like, you have to work with the kids you're not recruiting kids to come play there, right? You have to work with the kids that want to come play basketball. And you should be
every day,
Right.
That's the thing, is that how do you get the kid comes in as a freshman, maybe didn't play any minutes in junior high, at a bigger school, he's not even on the team probably. And you need that kid to one day be a senior and be your 6th, 7th man. And who knows what happens there. And our team that went to Sweet 16 a few years ago, we had a kid that, we had to talk into playing in 8th grade, and and he's not real good, but he's fairly athletic. By the time he was a senior, he was come off the bench and hit some big shots for us, in the postseason, and just made some big plays for us, and was just a role guy. But he was completely bought in to our team, to doing whatever it took to be the best teammate that he could be. And I mean, just the way that kid progressed, that nobody thought he would ever be anything, but I think at a small school like Arcola, like, you got to have those kids. I mean, they're just salt of the earth, rock solid kids. And if you don't have them, then you're not going to be successful. I mean, you run those kids off and you're down to 14, 15.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Then you got nobody there.
No. And who wants that? So, but you got to be intentional about it. You got to be intentional about it.
You're bringing up, man, I really don't want to do this to you, but if you can remember that game that we were talking about, if you can remember, our center was 5'10" and round, dude.
Kid. Yeah.
Stocky's a nice word. Stocky is a nice word for J.R. Lester. He was the team manager in 8th grade. Didn't even make the team, and he was our starting quote unquote center that went to a Final Four team, right? So it's like, right, and but if you just say, oh, that kid's not any good and he's not, I mean, it doesn't do any good. You got to play with gotta use the hand you're dealt as a coach and
Yeah.
believe and see what's good. Like you're saying, coach from the heart, and they'll want to be there. And some kids develop, turn into something.
Yeah, and I think usually a lot of times some of those kids they start with, at least from my experience, is it's almost like they need to be a part of the program more than you need them. And
Oh,
that's a mindset I've tried to
yeah.
have. It's like, okay, we've lost kids. I mean, obviously you're not going to bat 100%, 1,000%, whatever. But like, there's so many kids that need to be a part of the program because some of the lessons we'll be able to teach them, hopefully, you know, they aren't getting other places, unfortunately. So them sticking it out for 4 years, who knows what kind of impact you're having? They may not help you win a game. I don't know, but who cares? Like they're the kids that who knows what kind of impact you have on them so they can have the impact on others.
Yeah.
Who knows where that goes? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. So, but that's that's been something I've really tried to do, especially since being
Yeah.
here, is just impacting kids that need it more than others.
So let's sum it all up here. So you had some success at Chrisman. You go in and you're an assistant, learn some stuff. Then you go to Arcola,
Hmm.
and you're the head boys coach there for 8 years. Is that correct?
I think seven. Okay.
Seven. This is
18
okay.
years.
So yeah.
I did seven. Yeah.
So seven years there. You guys had some success there, right?
Yeah, we had a losing season my first year, but it was a really good catalyst year where kids really bought in. I mean, it's a football school, and
Yeah.
it hasn't been recently, but we're starting to get that back as well. But it's people told me I have to take this job because you
Hmm.
can't get it out of it. It's football, football, football. I was like, well, give me athletes. I mean, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's why I want, like, Arco always had athletes. I'm like, give me some athletes and we'll figure stuff out from there. So we were able to get some buy-in the first year and played really good late. Played a really good Nokomis team. I think went to Elite Eight that year in the regional, and they beat us, but we played them pretty tough. We played them like we're down 4 at half, like played tough. Next year we had a winning season, but it was a hard year because those kids were like trying to buy in, but they were like still football guys. And like, I'm not sure I
Hmm.
want to give them. We had a group of like sophomores and juniors who were like, let's go. Like they wanted to go, they wanted.
Yeah.
So it was a weird dynamic. We didn't finish in above 500, but it was one of those years that I just didn't feel like we maximized our talent. Um, and then we really started taking off. And then a couple years ago, we uh, we were able to go to the Sweet 16 and we beat St. Anthony, number one team in the state over in
Yeah.
Ocala Valley, which and they were really good, obviously, and we were able to knock them off and go to the sectional championship where we got beat, unfortunately. But it's been fun just to see the progression and to go from 16 kids out to over 30. And having a full freshman team, a fresh soft schedule, a JV schedule at a school of under 200 kids. So to be able to build that here it's been so much fun and so rewarding, and I don't mean by our record. I mean more by just some of the things our seniors who said last year, about how our program helped bring them closer to Jesus, and they said it verbally at our banquet in front of everybody,
Mm.
unprompted. So, I mean, this the things like that have been, just overwhelming to me. Just the gratitude that I've got from the community and stuff, and it's been really fun.
So you're having success on multiple levels there at the boys program,
Hmm.
and then you you leave it
Yeah.
to go do the girls program. And I want to hear this. I kind of know the story, but I want to hear this story.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a whirlwind. It's you know, I gotta be careful with what I say, but so
It's
our girls coach a couple weeks before the season, he's a friend of mine, was my JV coach when he first came here, when I first came here, and then he went to take over junior high boys program and took over our girls program, and then he's got going through some job moves and stuff like that, and unfortunately, about 2 weeks before the season, he had texted me and said he was thinking about resigning as a girls coach. And it was, we had a conversation about it, a lot of conversations about it, and
I
I was
imagine.
able to sit down my staff, and I knew our girls. We had a really good team last year, but they had all but one had graduated, left. We had a couple girls move, before all this happened. I knew it was going to be a really tough spot for the coach to come in. So I sat down with my boys staff, and I had a junior high coach last year I brought in, young guy, Coach Pollock. I think he's going to be a great coach. He's in the building, and he's offered to take the girls' job. And I talked to him about it and just said, listen, man, like, I'd rather you take over the boys. And I got a daughter on the team, which obviously plays a factor.
Sure.
Last year was difficult, with her playing a little bit of varsity and being on the varsity team, but just being in the gym every night. We had, as a family, our life was in the gym. Monday night girls game, Tuesday night boys game, Wednesday night one of us had late practice, Thursday girls game, Friday boys game.
Been there, coach.
I played Saturday, so I was like, I don't know if I can. I got another girl coming up in 6th grade, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this for 7 more years. But I really wanted to get that young coach a couple of years at least under me, and help him and teach him some things that through my own failures I've been able to do. But I didn't want to put him in the spot to have to rebuild a girls program and have to go hire a staff and with 2 weeks to go before the season. It's just a hard situation. So, prayed about it a ton, talked to some of those guys I call my foxhole brothers that when times get tough, talked to my wife, kids about it. And actually my youngest daughter was crying. She didn't want me to give up the boys because I think she likes the dad's the coach,
Absolutely.
I'm like, I'm going to be your coach. So so at the end of the day, I think I just, made the best decision that I could for the most people. But unfortunately, I had to tell the boys that I wasn't going to coach them. But part of the reason I was able to do this move, I think, is because of the way we've run our program. We have such good leaders in place right now at our high school level that are able to just kind of carry it, just keep things moving forward. And without those guys doing that, I mean, those players, I couldn't, I couldn't do it, so it was a testament to them, but you also feel like you're kind of screwing those guys over, especially so close to the season. But it was a tough time, and it has been a tough time, but I do think that making the hard decision, making the right decision isn't usually the easiest decision. So those don't usually go hand in hand. I feel like I made the right decision for most people involved, and it hasn't been easy for me and other people, but it's at the end of the day, it was the right thing to do, and I don't regret it at all. So.
No, it's fantastic. And there's so many ways we could go from that. Cause it's like part of you wants to say, well, how are they doing? And maybe we'll see at the end of the year if it was the right decision. But even doing that is like, we're doing exactly what you and I just said not to do, is like to look at the wins and losses, right? Because that's not a decision like this. That can't be what we're talking about, right? Because if you left the boys program in they got solid leaders, solid assistants, and you feel like this young guy coming up can do a really good job, then you feel like that's in a good place. But if you have a girls program that is already going to be behind the 8 ball with talent wise, and put in somebody who hasn't had any experience, you stuff like that can set a program back for years. Yeah, absolutely. Years. Because then it happens. And this, I'm not saying anything anybody doesn't know, but what happens is kids go, you get for girls will be like, well, I'm just going to play volleyball because our basketball team is not very good. So I'm not going to play. And
volleyball in the winter.
And then you're talking about, you let one season turn into a decade long thing that you're trying to fight. And and I feel like you stepping up, putting your ego aside, taking what you built, handing it over, and being like, I feel like I'm the guy that can help with this a little bit more. Major kudos to you, because that's hard to do.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's like I said, it's been difficult, and I found it not funny, but kind of ironic whenever you kind of contacted me about doing this podcast, and I wasn't feeling real mentally tough at the time because
I'm sure
I was like, the boys were winning. We're struggling. We're young, inexperienced. And then, you go from the intensity of the boys game. And I feel like I came in the first couple weeks of practice and probably didn't do the best job for the girls because I was trying to figure out, how do I do this? I'm still figuring out how do I do this. I coached a little bit of rec softball and then my own daughters in the gym a little bit. I can do them all the time. So, but I'm like, wasn't feeling the best. But then I got, again, got some texts with some people and talked to some people, and, uh, like Gardner guy I talked about that earlier, my spiritual caddy, I call him. He sent me a
Yeah.
text. It was like, Coach, what if you win one soul this season?
Yeah.
But you don't win a game all year, but you bring one girl to a relationship with Jesus. Then are you going to be sulking about it? Are you going to feel bad because you lost the games or blah, blah, blah? I'm like, well, no, it'd be pretty shallow of me. He's like, well, then go do that. Then just go be the man you're supposed to be. Go be the coach you're supposed to be. Quit crying about it and let's freaking go.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those, like, let's go. All right. So it's we just, our number one. I kind of lost, focus on for a few weeks there, like, just it's harder because you're here with the boys, you're here with the coaches, you're here. It's like if you break up with it's like a breakup,
Right?
You broke up, and I'm here with you every day still.
Yeah.
My wife and I got divorced, and I still got to live with her. It's gonna be miserable.
It's tough. It's hard.
But like I was seeing them every day, so it just made it a lot more difficult, I thought. But I think we're in a good spot now, and that we're starting to speak the same language as a team. And
yeah,
it's been a new challenge. I do think anytime you can, I've been lucky enough to win a lot of games recently, and it's been humbling too. And I think we all need that. I think we all need at times to be kind of put in our place, and be humbled and be like, okay, you're not as good as you think you are, or you got to get back to like, okay, this is why I do it. Get back to your roots and say, okay, I'm coaching for relationships and to build this, especially with girls basketball, we talk about all the time. Like now is build this thing of like where girls want to come here because they have a support system of ladies that care for each other, love one another, and have each other's back when things get tough. And guys like you and me, when we were younger, probably making them cry and stuff. But
right.
Like, they need that group, and we want to create that in this program. And I'm gonna try my best to do it, and hopefully I'm the guy that can get it done.
Yeah, no, it's I made a switch from coaching boys to girls for a while, and it's just different, and it's there's goods, there's bads. I don't know, it's just different. And I also coached my daughter for a year, and I'm gonna pray for you there, brother, because that's
I need it.
it's what I mean.
We're too stubborn. We're too
well, same here, right? And that's a tough thing, right? It's what's funny is like I'm going to tell you that I think you're going to do a better job than I did at it, because you're talking to me now as a guy that's had a lot of changes and things about differently, but I wasn't that guy before. So if you can imagine how you used to coach and how you used to be, if you imagine how much you'd be butting heads with her then, that was what I was doing.
And that's funny you say that, because like that I kind of felt like the first kind of 3 weeks, month of a girls' season, I kind of reverted back to some old habits.
Yeah.
And just because I kind of let my own, frustrations, I had a little doubt creep in, like, oh, was this the right thing? And I don't mean anything negative to our girls at all.
No, it's
hopefully they watch this, but it's nothing again. They've been fantastic, and we've had zero, knock on wood, zero internal issues with girl. They seem to really enjoy being there and being around each other, and there's no infighting or anything. And I've heard horror stories about that. We had some issues last with our girls team who won a regional. They just a lot of two of them every twice a week just to help them, like the team bonding stuff. So behind the scenes, but if you're a leader and you're not in your best headspace, then that reflects on how your team performs and how they perform practice and how they act and stuff like that. So I feel like I was doing them a disservice for a first part of the season out of my own, not being mentally tough enough, not being in the right, not focusing on what is actually important. And I do feel like here in the last, couple weeks, I've really got back to where I need to be and can lead these girls and my family that, more importantly, the right way. So that's what I'm going to do.
Well, I think that's just it, is like you get going and doing things, and your team's doing well, your boys team, you're winning some games, you're getting through to them, they're bought in, and it's easy to kind of like, not that you're resting on your laurels, but you're like, I got this. I got this, right? I got this. And then when you get thrown into a completely different situation, you do start to doubt what you thought you knew. And you're like,
Yeah.
and it's not that it's harder or worse, it's just different. And you have to apply everything you thought you knew in a different way. And that's, I mean, I think that's a good thing, right? You're
I
going to
agree.
come out of this. I mean, I come out of this as a so much more well-rounded coach, probably an individual.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things like you can. I shouldn't use the word preach, but I lead some stuff here at the school with other coaches. We went through some of the 360 stuff and 3D stuff with our coaches, and some of them here at the in our district. And it's easy to lead that and preach it per se, and then you're winning. You're like,
Yeah.
see, and then you go and you're losing, and the scoreboard's not in your favor, and then you're like, you almost feel like a fraud, because then because you're like, oh wait, so it was like I call it a come to Jesus moment where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like you were doing it, talking to yours, hey Greg, you were doing it whenever you were winning 25 games a year, and getting trophies and cutting down nets. That's easy. It's easy then. Now you're 0, you start off 0 whatever. It's like, can you be that same leader? Can you, put the boots on, strap them up and let's go,
Mhm.
because it's easy when you're winning, and it's easy if people listen to you when you're winning, because like, oh look how hard this team played. Now it's a little more difficult, but I think it's a test. I truly believe that God put me in this position for a reason. I didn't think it was going to happen at this time, but it's been a good test for me, and I plan on coming out a better man and a better coach in the long run because of it. And it's going to be through a little bit of trial and error. So
Mhm.
but I'm here for it, and I'm excited
Yeah.
about it.
I love that. And one of the questions I always like to ask any coach that's kind of feels like they've made a change in the way they coach and also when they lean into their faith when they coach.
Yeah.
Coaching is it's a difficult profession because it's hard to leave stuff. It's hard to take it home with you, right? Or
Oh
you
yeah.
can. And I'm always curious when you made that change in the way you coach and the way you do things and you lean and coach through your faith now, how do you see that change your relationship like when you go home? Do you notice a difference?
Yeah, I call my wife and get up here real quick. She probably have some better things to say than I do about
That's
that.
right.
But no, it is. It's really changed. I just feel like when you're, I don't know how to put it, but like I just feel like when you are leading your team, you know, in the right way, that carries over to home. So you're leading your family the right way. And again, I'm not trying to, be sexist or anything, but I do think it's the father and man's job to lead the family. And I have a great wife, and she's my best friend. She loved my life, and she's phenomenal. But I do think it's my job to lead them. And with her by my side and with
Yeah.
her in my corner. You're not me here, her here. My hands are up, but it's I think that's the balance, and I that's what I want to do at my house. And if I'm leading by fear in the gym, that's going to carry over to the household, and that's not, if I'm not giving my best at home, then what am I doing? Then I shouldn't probably be coaching at
Mhm.
all. So, and that's where
Well,
when I
that's
took
fair,
over.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
really.
it is. I just think that we are. I mean, that's why I think it's so important, and we've all done it, as Christians, and I'm guilty of it myself as anybody, more than most people probably, where you get that disconnect from the Word, you get that disconnect from Jesus, and it's not His fault. He's perfect, so it's our fault. We stop getting in the Word daily. We stop attending church. We stop having discussions about the Bible and Jesus, and then everything just starts kind of domino affecting.
It
You're
does.
not doing a good enough job as a coach now. You're not, and I've been in that rut, and probably in the last month I've been in that rut, some. So it's like that's why it's so important to have those people in your corner that get you back on track. And Jesus is always knocking on your door. It's just, are you going to answer it, or are you going to just
Mhm.
you're going to leave it locked? What are you going to do? So you know, um, it's hard. I mean, I don't think anybody that's kind of works on their faith or is a coach or anything, it's like, oh, this is easy. No, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard, but
It's
anything
hard.
worth it in life is hard.
supposed to
if
be
it's
hard.
worth anything, it's supposed to be hard. So, man up
It's
and lead for God's sake, so.
Yep. What a great book
That's
too, right?
yeah, amen.
Yeah. It it's funny you say that. You're talking about like you got to make sure that you're staying in the word, and I do that sometimes. And I used to worry about, well, what should I be reading? What's the best? What should I be reading for coaches and stuff like that? And what I found
Yeah,
is I kind of just, it doesn't matter, because what happens is I start reading, and the more I stay in the word, I see whatever I'm reading shows up.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Whatever
like
you at that moment, it tells you.
it shows up, right?
Yeah,
It's like I could be reading whatever, and then something happens, and I'm like, oh, this is exactly what they're talking about, and it never fails, right? It's like,
yeah,
but if you're not in the word, and that's not in your mind, then you don't make that process, and you don't do that, and that's why you just got to stay in it, man, and that's why it's so important.
yeah. It's got to be habitual. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
have a process. I mean, it's a daily process you go through. I listen to a podcast every morning. I got a group of guys that I share it with, and then discuss it with, and then me and my spiritual caddy, we would do a Bible study. We read a part of the Bible every single day, and share our call our God shot every single day. What hit us the most, we share it. And then when I get away from it for a few days, I can feel it. And you
Yeah.
talk about the family, my family can feel it. There's been times my wife's like, you've been reading the Bible. I'm like, I have been a couple days. She goes, well, you might want to get back into it.
Maybe.
So, like
Yeah.
we can tell, bud. Like
Yeah, that's
you
funny.
need to get your head on. So
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah. So
That's great.
yeah,
You got to be, yeah, you get to be the head, but she gets to be the making sure you're doing your
yeah.
job, which is
Checks and
fantastic.
balances.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, Coach. Hey, last question I always ask is, what did I not ask you that I should have? I don't want to leave anything untalked about here. So, is there anything I missed that we oughta chat about?
I mean, I love the conversation we've had. I mean, it's and we know we're not going to go into the X's and O's of it, and nor should we. But I just, you know, I guess this isn't. I just want to say that I think it's great what you're doing. I
I
think that a
appreciate
lot
that.
of times that we do things. I know as a coach, you don't maybe get the not that we necessarily need it, that the pats on the back, whatever it is, but just listen to some of the stuff that you've been able to put out and some of the people you've been able to have on here. I hope your podcast continues to grow, and I'll be praying for you and your future guests to just keep. We need coaches. We
Yeah.
need coaches. We need men to act like men. We need family. We need structure. In today's world, with and I'm not knocking AAU or travel sport. I'm not knocking that at all. But like, we need to play for pride in our schools. We need to take
Mhm.
pride in those things. And I know you didn't ask me these questions, but but we're going anyways. But it's just I just appreciate people like yourself, the people I've been able to be around as a coach. Like you brought up Coach Kluver earlier, and I brought up a few people that have been great for me. People through FCA like Shannon Coffey and Blandis Beck and different guys that I've been able to be blessed to be around, that keep steering me the right direction. And I think that no matter everybody has good in them, but we have to find people to be around us to help bring the good out of us, and I know you're doing that, and it's just great to see people like yourself giving back to the profession that you were part of and still are, for so long. So, thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's I love the podcast. I love what I'm doing now. It's a really interesting. I find it amazing when we talk about the Lord, and when doing it, like I wouldn't be here if not for some uh, really kind of rough situations and circumstances. But you have to be able to look at that and go, hey, that's where I'm supposed to be, and this is
Yeah.
like, yeah, and that's, yeah. I wouldn't have designed it, but I'll sure take it. Yeah.
No, anybody would design had to go through what you had to go through.
No, but you know what I mean? But that's just
Yeah.
it. But that's it. I wouldn't be there without it. So, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
be helping the people that I am. And you're in a different situation that you didn't realize you were going to be in, but you're going to be able to use the things that happen to you and turned it into things that happen for you and
Yeah.
for others.
Amen.
And that's what it's all about.
Amen.
Awesome, Coach. Hey, this has been fantastic. I sure enjoy the conversation, and the best of luck to you the rest of this year, and getting that program on its feet and going.
I appreciate it, and I thank you for having me. And I'm probably not worthy to be on this show, but
Oh, absolutely
hope I
not.
was able to say a few decent things.
No, it's fantastic. It'll be really good. People will enjoy this. So it's
Yeah, good.
not about, again, it's the same deal. It's not about like, it's not what it's about. So it's about the conversation, and I appreciate that. So
Well,
thank you so
Matt.
much,
Yeah,
Coach. You bet.
appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Parents, is your athlete ready for the upcoming sports season? They might have the strength, the speed, and the skills, but without confidence, they can still struggle when the game is online. Skill and strength are great. They're necessary, but they're not used to their full potential without the right mentality. Confidence is key. It's the key to unlocking that full potential. And at Mental Mettle Coaching, I offer personalized sessions designed to build the confidence your athlete needs for a successful season. My proven techniques empower them to perform under pressure, both on the field and in life. Don't let a lack of confidence hold them back. Book a free session today and discover the power of confidence. Visit the website, get started on the journey to a more confident, successful athlete with Mental Mettle Coaching. I loved that interview with Greg Geisinger. There was so much. I could sit here and talk for another hour. I'm not going to, but there's so much. I think there was one thing above all that stood out to me, and something that I really want to really reiterate and really to kind of like really hammer in the importance. And there was a lot in there. And, you know, you'd be like, well, hey, there's a lot more than just one thing. And I agree, because it was so much, like just his philosophy on whole person development and how developing the kids, and how he realized that he was coaching to winning and having success, but he wasn't affecting the kids as positively as he could or as he should. He wasn't really going past the scoreboard. And I think that's commendable, and that's something that we should be doing. And his decision to start to coach out of love and not out of fear, which is, you hear me talk about this podcast all the time about a lot of us were coached out of fear, and it still happens a lot. Coaches are coached like they were coached. If I said that right, we tend to coach in the ways that we were coached when we were young, and that fear-based coaching has a lot of people that are behind it and still do it and think that's the way to do it. I disagree. His decision to change that and coach out of love instead of fear, I think is, again, very commendable. And to be able to do that and also still be tough, and I think that's the point, and that's something that we struggle with, but you be able to do it. That's a good part of it. That's not the thing I'm thinking, but that was really, really good, and you should definitely lean into that. Also, it's a great story in him making the choice to switch over to the girls' team. That's a huge decision, to give up a program that you built. Yes, he's going over to coach his daughter, but that comes with its own issues sometimes. But his decision to leave a program that he's built up for 7 years or so and improved, and just handing over a great program to somebody else to see the success, knowing that you got to restart on a program that's going to struggle. It's such a selfless act, and that's a great thing. Also, even the way he talked about how at a small school like at Arcola, you have to develop these athletes and keep them coming out and keep them playing in multiple sports because you need them. And the idea that it's not just your program, it's their program, but in order to succeed, you need these kids, and it has to be somewhere they want to be and somewhere they enjoy being and see the growth. Understand the importance of the growth, and because they're not always going to be great right out of the gate. You can't just you need these kids to develop, these role players to get better, because you need them to have good programs at these smaller schools. Again, so much good stuff. But I think the one thing that really helps me out and that I think is worth saying is when he talks about his friend that he calls his spiritual caddy. And I think that that is such a great way to say it. And it tells me so much because I talk a lot and the importance of having an accountability partner and having somebody to hold you accountable, to bounce ideas off of, and to do it in a spiritual way is even better. He talked a lot about his faith, and that was evident. But just having somebody that you're going to be good friends with, but also to hold each other accountable and bounce ideas off of. And I think that that is something we don't do enough of, especially when we're talking to men. There's a lot of responsibilities, and he talks about that. A lot of responsibilities and the idea that we have to be tough. And we do at times. We have real responsibilities, and you got to make tough decisions and go through tough situations. But you also have to be vulnerable enough to share some ideas with somebody and bounce ideas off of and have them hold you accountable and have these tough conversations and say things out loud. I was at a Bible study this morning with some guys, and there was something that had been on my mind, and I had said internally, but had yet to say externally. And the second I say it to somebody, it becomes a little bit more real, and it helps to make me make some decisions about it. And I think that as a guy is something that we need to do more of. And I don't think, the growth that he sees over his life and the way he coaches differently and how he develops all these things that I said earlier that are great, like the way he builds his faith, the way he builds his team, the way he coaches out of fear or out of love and not fear, and his decision to switch over to the girls team. I don't think he does all those things without opening up and having somebody to talk to and have somebody to confide in and having that accountability partner, what he calls that spiritual caddy. I think it's that important. I think you have to have that in some way, shape, or form. And it's not just guys that need it. I think everybody needs it. But I think that we can be the worst, the more likely to do that, the worst candidates for that sometimes. So I think that if you listen to this podcast, if you're a coach and you're paying attention to, and you're thinking, man, I'd like to do all these things that Greg is doing, and that's kind of the way I would coach, and he's a great example, and he's doing a great job. I think that a good place to start is, well, it should start, with your faith. I can't say that enough, but I think that it should start by you having a caddy, like a spiritual caddy or an accountability partner, somebody that you trust, somebody that you have conversations with in some way that you can open up and be vulnerable with, because I think it is that important for us understanding our flaws and how to get better at them and how to work. And it's the same thing we're asking, our players to do, is to recognize what they're not good at and getting better at. And I think as a coach, as a man, as a person, we need to be doing those things. And I think Greg talking about not only doing that, but coming out on this podcast and talking about it, I think is so helpful. And that's more than anything, I think, what you should take from this podcast. That's what I'm going to take about it is I've got a few friends that, Bible study and things like that I really lean into. But it as I listen to Greg talk about it, I'm like, I need to, really build that relationship, because it's really helpful for me and it's helpful for the other person. We grow together. And I think that's a beautiful thing, man. And it's great. And I love that. So, that's what I'm going to take from this. And that's what I hope you take from it. So thanks for joining me. Do not forget, please like, share, subscribe. It really helps. Take an episode. You listen to this episode or a different episode that you get and you like it. Look, there's a link. You copy the link, you paste it, you put it in an email, you put it in a text and say, hey, check this out. I liked this. Maybe you'll like this too. It's a great start somebody you're like, hey, maybe this would be a good accountability partner. Maybe this is somebody that we could help each other. Sharing this podcast would be a really good idea to do that. It'd probably really help you. It'd help me. It'd help everybody. And that's always a good thing. It's a win-win-win. Yeah, something like that. But anyway, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. But for now, this has been the Mental Mettle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann, and always remember to forge your metal. Thanks for listening to the Mental Mettle Podcast. Don't forget to tune in every week for more insights and strategies to help you forge mental toughness and resilience. This podcast is brought to you by Mental Mettle Coaching, where we are driven by a passion for sharing knowledge and experience that empowers others to play, live, and grow with confidence. Our mission is to instill a resilient and spirited mindset in our clients, enabling them to confidently face adversity and actively seek new challenges for personal growth. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we offer individual coaching, group coaching, and professional development for schools and businesses. Whether you're an athlete, educator, or professional, we're here to help you unlock your potential and thrive in every area of life. Until next time, keep growing, stay resilient, and always remember to forge your metal.